Excuse me. Shifting in structure here inside of this macro after creating this swing high. Respecting this 5-minute order block in the lower quadrant of the previous day's range. See if this can create a sustained price run towards this low. SMC with ES as well, failing to take this high. NQ taking it. Now trading in line with YM and dollar just accumulating here. Just paper trading here. All for the whole day. Whole session. An idea. Against the draw. Up here.
Focused on the charts, right? Go through your checklist. Have you had some food? You had a coffee or water? You hydrated? Make sure you've got nothing going on out.
into options education with confidence. At the Options Industry Council, we want you to know your options, which is why we've created OCC Learning, a complete self-guided learning platform where investors receive realistic options education for free. Join now to learn at your own.
Markets move crazy, which was Friday. Overhedging create a chain reaction. Maybe. B is something you happen to react to it. And C is something's about to happen and you know about it. Number 3 happens all the time. And it's very easy to tell if it's number 3 moving the market. Never during the event, but always after the event. Usually you can speculate during the event. What's going on? I don't get it.
Yeah, just put your fucking $200 right now, so that way you can go and buy an account or do whatever the fuck you want with. I told you, email the people. Don't talk about it to me. I don't control it. I have nothing to do with the fucking giveaways. So fucking, it's like that's. I'm just gonna stop doing giveaways from now on, because it's like every time it's always an issue with somebody.
We left this high up here, and this high. Created some buy side. Sell side looks pretty well tapped in a discount. We'll see. We'll see if this has willingness to trade below this low to this one. Discount now. tried longs earlier. We came into equilibrium. Got stopped out at this low. Long here into the macro. Reach these equal highs. Short here into the sell side liquidity. Just doing essentially practicing scalping. So knowing it's a accumulation day, small range day, a lot of like small movements up and down. Essentially just really what I'm doing is warming up for the week. It's the way I view it. Oh shit. I just saw your message. Large gaps. I'm not sure I understand that question. Maybe because it was regarding something I was referring to at that moment in time. I'm not sure I understand it. I don't know if you're referring to this gap here, this volume imbalance. I know I mentioned that, or I don't know if you're referring to like the fact that we gapped down so far on Friday. But I wouldn't say this is necessary. I mean, yes, essentially it's forming a gap. It's a 4-hour gap. It's forming a daily gap. But this is, yeah. So yeah, it's a gap down, but also an expansion leg down. Oh, the first one. I'm not too familiar with the concept. I know ICT teaches it a lot, but for me, I just view this as a volume imbalance. I know that ICT teaches a lot about the new week and new day opening gaps. I haven't incorporated those into my trading as of yet. But they're supposedly like strong areas of like support and resistance, kind of like inefficiencies, but like price likes to trade into them and away from them and then back into them a lot. But I'm not really like I don't know too much about them. That's about the extent I know. I don't use them. The way I view this is just a volume imbalance. And we tend to get those when we open up a new week and a new day. When price opens up at a value higher than where it closed or lower, just different from where it closed, creates a volume imbalance. That can happen on any candle, but generally it almost always happens when the day or the week changes. Didn't get one here, but it tends to happen. And yeah. Price doesn't quite get into it, but it makes an effort. It does reach into the inefficiency from this to this candle. Price continuing to sell off into 930. Took the 740 low. Looking to see if it wants to trade back into that gap we were just referring to, into this sell side. We're in like a 15-minute accumulation here. Essentially staying within this range. There's equilibrium of it. See if we can make an effort to leave it. Should want to come right back in. That's what today's going to be, just a really small range accumulation. You can see that already. That's what it's been. We had this move up at 6. Right off the start of the weekly candle and daily candle. And then ever since then it's just been a consolidation between equilibrium of the range. So we traded up into the 25% level of the previous day's range, down into equilibrium, into this gap, then traded up into this high above the 25% level, failing to close above it, then back into equilibrium. Then back into equilibrium, then made an effort to trade back into this high, stopped short and closed below the 25% level. So it's just consolidating or accumulating between those two levels, the equilibrium of the range and that 25% level of the previous day's range. There's really no scenario today where a trade gets taken, like a high quality trade. I am favoring previous week's low to hold. I want to see Monday's range be some sort of accumulation, and then Tuesday manipulation into equilibrium. It'll be curious. I am curious to see if we can trade above this quadrant into this upper quadrant of the discount today, by the end of the day, or if we're just going to stay below inside the lower quadrant without taking this low. That's kind of what I'm waiting for at the end of the day for tomorrow. Because there is a scenario where we take previous week's low and then want to start to expand or distribute higher into these equilibrium levels. Or there's a scenario that we failed to reach these equilibrium levels on the manipulation leg up and then distribute into the daily swing lows down here. The idea scenario would be that we accumulate some in these two quadrants here, manipulate into equilibrium of the previous week's range, and then start to distribute down into these daily swing lows. That's the ideal scenario. But the other scenarios are possible as well. That's for the weekly range. $9.30 brought us right back. Okay, my thing's moving really slow. Okay. 9.30 brought us right back to that 25% quadrant level. And then right back down. See how we treat this fair value gap. Go right through it. I don't think we'll get that retracement higher, but favoring a run into this low. Still some time. And no high quality setups, just warming up. Paper trading. We're below this low now. Into a discount of the daily range. below opening price in the lower quadrant. So we're in the lower quadrant of previous day's range in a discount of the current day's range. Near this sell side liquidity here, these two lows. See if price wants to retrace up into this wick. This 930 wick, or if it wants to distribute into these lows first. Looks like it wants to distribute into lows first. Comes down and eventually reaches this prior to the 1 hour macro. We'll see how we treat this gap here. Take sell side into the gap. See if we can make an effort to trade back into all this buy side. We left buy side here, here. Want to see, yes, yep, here, here. Left a lot of buy side. Took a swing low into this initial gap. NQ took this swing low here. 315 London low. Left a lot of buy side here. Trading back into this low. See if it
Your call has been forwarded to.
see if it wants to reach the consequent encroachment of this gap. We formed a swing high here on the 1 minute. Nothing left on the, nothing yet on the 2 minute or above. I'm expecting this previous week's low to stay open today. I'm acknowledging I could be wrong. Small range day. Expect that low to, I expect previous day's range to be left not respect or just In other words, for it not to trade to the top or the low of that range, to stay within previous day's range. That low is here, and we have this gap here above that low. So I'm interested to see if we can respect this gap and start to trade back up into these equal high or lower highs over here into the upper quadrant of the discount of previous day's range. Yeah, if it comes for previous week's low, that'll be interesting as well to see how we react from there. If we start to trade back into the daily range is what I'd expect, or if we just keep trading lower, that would be very interesting on a Monday with no news. That'd be very unexpected. We'll see how it trades inside this gap here, coming into the macro. Formed another swing high in the 1 minute here. Still nothing. The higher time frames just traded to consequent encroachment. Essentially anticipating it to respect this gap. This is the initial entry. Here we'll have our second entry coming up. If we can take the swing high. Dollar is trading higher. It looks like today's candle could make an effort to at least trade into this gap. It's very close to it. And Q doesn't have to trade in line with it though. Low probability day. Not really anticipating much. Really kind of failed to close above this high. Want to see this gap left open for us to start to trade up towards this high. Coming inside the macro, don't want to see it trading towards this low. Want to see this gap left open. It could still want to trade to the low. To the low of the gap. We have traded to consequent encroachment. Maybe want to take this low one more time. But I am expecting this move back up into this buy side liquidity here. We're in a discount below opening price. Inside this volume imbalance, below these lows. Trades back into the gap. Disrespects it. $9.50. Large range down into this low, towards the low of the fair value gap. Trade into the low of the fair value gap. Or sorry, the volume imbalance. I want to see price trade through this fair value gap. Respect the low of this imbalance. ES looking like it wants to come for yesterday's low. Friday's low, sorry. Same as YM. NQ could follow here into this low here. Inside of this macro. Yep. There it goes. Into current month's equilibrium. Just looks like prolonged sell side delivery from 25% level of the previous day's range. Now we're below Friday's low. This level is, I believe it's current month's equilibrium. February 3rd. Yep. Large distribution move lower here. I really don't want to see these daily swing lows taken today. I'm really hoping we leave those for this week or next week. But we'll see. We're now below previous day's low. Hit current month's equilibrium. Violated previous day's range. Just an accumulation to distribute lower. I don't, this could be manipulation. And then we start to distribute higher, but I doubt it. Things are the market's harder to predict when you're anticipating small range days, which is generally not in your favor. And YM is still trading inside of this gap. Oh, actually hasn't even reached it yet. ES on the other hand, and ES and NQ on the other hand, have taken this low. very close to this daily swing low on ES. Looking like it wants to reach for him today. So I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a retracement higher, but essentially our bias played out, trading towards our drawn liquidity. Maybe I was too yeah, I guess I was just wrong in expecting it to return to a equilibrium. That's all right. That happens. I mean, we opened up in a discount of the range, so there are two possibilities. It reaches for equilibrium or it reaches for this low. I favored a run, at least an attempt to run up to equilibrium. It looks like this is what we got here. We'll see what tomorrow has in store. And now we're delivering towards these daily swing lows. So just another bearish candle. Very bearish. So ideally I would have been anticipating price to, as it had, to stay below this quadrant and take this low instead of reaching up into this upper quadrant as I predicted, but can't get it right every time. Yeah, beautiful. It's actually a beautiful run on liquidity, right inside the macro. Even offered a setup. Right up here. Shift in structure, gap, comes back into it, delivers inside the macro. just wrong today. Wrong. Even wrong to, well, I wouldn't say I was wrong to anticipate a small range day because of yesterday's large range candle. I'm always going to choose to anticipate, especially on a no news Monday. You know, this is kind of out of the blue. Either way, no trades were taken, no damage done, so the low probability outcome just happened to play out today. It goes to show we're bearish. If you look at it through that lens, it goes to show that we're really bearish. And Q still hasn't reached those lows. I'm looking down to I've been looking down to these lows here for a while. Now we got these equal lows as well. And on ES it's even more clear. These lows over here as the ultimate drawn liquidity for today for the quarter one of the year. And in March. I think we can reach for this prior to that. Yeah, so not exactly a small range day. Just accumulation in the lower quadrant, and then distribution. Like very slight manipulation. Slight manipulation here at 9:30 doesn't take any liquidity. Just leaves these highs. Kind of goes to show me that we might come for Monday's high later on in the week. Because now we've come and taken this sell side liquidity down here and left some buy side up here. We are looking for lower prices though. Next swing low right here. We just took this one. Wow. So One hour macro really decided to take liquidity today. Previous week's low, daily swing lows. Blue. Very nice run. Price run lower there. Not really my motto. If I were to apply my model to today's trading, it would be to go long from this low, but or to go short from equilibrium of the range. Essentially, that's why I was anticipating a return to equilibrium. Ideally, I would have acknowledged that Friday's range was so large that all it needed to do was come up into this 25%, this 25% of the previous day's range, and then from there start to distribute lower. But that's easy to say in hindsight. Accumulation, in other words, from my perspective on this day, whether we come up for equilibrium or we come down for this low from the opening range, to me is like, I'm unable to predict that with a high degree of accuracy. What I do know is that if we're bullish and we're in the discount of the range and we come for a previous day low, or for example make an attempt to come to previous day's low inside the opening range, then now we're in high probabilities for longs. We're below opening, below a discount. In this case, we were bearish, making it not necessarily high probability for longs, even at this low. Just too bearish, reaching for these daily swing lows. Hindsight. Looking for this run up here. Should have been looking for the run down here, but Q falls just short of that second daily swing low. Took this first one, falls just short of this one. Yes, takes both. YM taps it, and now we're starting to displace higher. So essentially now we're below previous week's range, below previous day's range, below previous session's range, below opening price, after a large distribution move lower. We concluded the 10-10 macro. The return to equilibrium could be expected here. We still have all this buy side here, up here. It'll be interesting to see if we trade for that today. The dollar failed to trade into this daily gap. Not ideal that we left it slow and dollar leaves the gaps. to favor continuation higher.